David Taub here with GV Wire, previewing Thursday's Fresno City Council meeting. A couple things caught our eye. Will the third time be a charm? Back in November, the state voted on Prop 64, which legalized recreational use of marijuana, but the law also allowed cities to regulate certain aspects of it. And one of those aspects is how many plants, marijuana plants, that an individual can grow in their home. Now, the minimum is 6, and that's exactly what Councilman Gary Bredefeld wanted to limit it to, the bare minimum, 6. Council voted 4-3 on those limitations. However, a quirk of city council rules says that you have to have a second vote, and that's been a little troublesome. The first time they tried that second vote back in July, it was a 3-3 tie, which means it didn't go forward. That's because Councilman Paul Capriolio, who initially supported it, was absent. They tried it again earlier this month, and it evolved into, or devolved, depending on your point of view, into a debate. Councilman Clint Olivier, a known libertarian, was questioning what limit was needed, or if any limit was needed. Councilman Luis Chavez, who also voted for it initially, was also wondering whether 6 was the right limitation. So interesting to see where this goes on Thursday, whether they'll stick with the 6-plant limit, whether they'll raise it, or who knows what will happen. Now, other things we're looking at, the state cap and trade law is now going to apply to Fresno. State cap and trade, of course, mandates pollution and certain aspects of what companies or what plants can pollute. And if they pollute too much, you have to buy something called carbon offsets to help keep the air clean. So there's the facility, the regional wastewater reclamation facility out at Jensen and Polk that Fresno and Clovis share, of course, to help treat the water, and it emits too much pollution. So Fresno is going to have to purchase a $665,000 credit. Now, interesting that the consultant that brokered this deal, a group called Evolution Markets, is going to net a 3.5% commission. That's about $22,000. Now, speaking of consultant contracts, a couple of things caught my eye. City will vote to award a $333,000 contract to VRPA Technologies. This has to do with the fax buses. Now, when a bus service changes its routes by a certain percentage, federal law requires them to do a survey to find out whether the change of services will have a discriminatory impact based on race, color, or national origin. Now, VRPA bid for this contract earlier this year, but it was rejected by council because it cost too much. So this time around, VRPA was able to cut $100,000 from the contract down to $333,000 by outsourcing some of its community outreach component. So we'll see if that cutting it down is to City Council's liking. And one other consultant contract to keep your eyes on, the city will vote to pay a group called Aegis Groundwater Consulting based in Fresno $123,000 for quality control and inspections of groundwater well construction. Now, one thing to note of the hourly breakdown of the various positions that Aegis wants taxpayers to pay for in the contract is $90 an hour for administration. Now, I contacted the Aegis' owner, Chris Johnson, for a little bit of an explanation, and he was not able to provide one for me by the time this video came up. So see what City Council does on Thursday. City Hall is going to be the location, 8:30 on Thursday morning. GV Wire will be keeping its eyes out for you and report back, so check us out on gvwire.com.